Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today's topic is going to be about the future, and not just the future as a whole, but your future life and my future life. I know most people would agree if I said the next generation is basically doomed. And by doomed, I mean they are on a straight path to never achieving much of anything in their life. Now, I believe that there is hope for the next generation, but it would take action and responsibility on their part to uproot a lot of what their brains have evolved into growing up believing. So in this video, I want to point out what some of these things are that a lot of Gen Z and younger people have grown up to believe and think, and try to help anyone I can to overcome them. Then I want to make light of the situation and prove to you that with action and effort, you can become a better person and make your own future. The first reason I believe the next generation is doomed for is having a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that no matter how much effort you give into something, it will always stay the same and never change. So an example of this that I see today is, I will never be able to buy a house in my lifetime. Or another example, I will never find someone to love me. This is something I see far too often, and it's what gets the clicks, and people overall just agree with the idea that there is no hope. This is something that we must overcome, not just as a society, but individually. But how do we overcome having a fixed mindset? It's like telling someone that the color red is actually blue, and their brain has lied to them all their life, because that is what their brain perceives as truth. The best thing we can do is actively prove our brains wrong. Now, how do we do this? The first step you can take is understanding that you can learn new things over time. When I think back to my prime Fortnite days, I remember that everyone would have to scroll through their build options on controller. So if you wanted to place a wall, then stairs, you would have to place the wall, then press the right number twice to cycle to the stairs. To what a lot of people did was edit their cones to look like ramps, because the walls and ramps were one scroll away from each other rather than two. Now, around the time that Playground, which is the OG creative mode, came out, Fortnite made an option for controller players called Builder Pro, and this allowed people to use their right trigger for a wall and left trigger for a ramp, and so on. No more scrolling through builds. Now, when this first came out, I rejected like some others, because we had become so used to cycling through our builds that the new binds would make us worse at the game. But what basically every single controller player realized was the only way to compete against other players was to learn how to use Builder Pro. This would take hours of grinding on Playground just to master a basic double 90 and make it come naturally. This is one example I, as a gamer, and I believe a lot of my viewers can relate to. We were forced to be momentarily bad at the game in order to reach a new ceiling. So you can think back to times in your life where you had to learn something new in order to achieve a goal. Maybe you didn't believe you would pass your driver's tests. Maybe you didn't believe you could ever get in good shape. Take some time to think and realize that change is possible. Now, the next thing we can do is actually a concept I got from a book I've read. You've probably heard the name of it a million times recently all over YouTube, Atomic Habits. I almost feel corny just mentioning this book, but it genuinely makes a lot of good points and has helped me in my life tremendously. The book's main goal is to teach you how to properly set goals. Goals should be something measurable. So an example of a bad goal is get into shape. This goal cannot be measured. An example of a good goal is track my calories and exercise 30 minutes a day. This is where we get the popular phrase, set systems, not goals. So if you have a fixed mindset of not being able to get into shape, you can think back to times where you have proven yourself wrong and set the goal to track your calories every day and exercise 3 times a week. That goal is measurable and attainable, and what you wanted, which was to get into shape, will naturally happen as a byproduct. So that is the first reason I believe people think they are quote-unquote doomed. The next reason I would say is our inability to think and therefore act. We have been conditioned from a young age to not sit with our thoughts. We are constantly being stimulated with things every day, and most of us grew up like this from a young age. We do not know how to think. Ask yourself, when is the last time I was truly bored? Not scrolling on your phone bored or skimming through Netflix. I'm talking true boredom. No stimulation. No phone, no music, no TV, just your thoughts. For a lot of people, it's hard to even think of a time we've sat with zero stimulation whatsoever. We can't even go to the bathroom without scrolling on our phone. Just a quick thought, but have you ever wondered why some of the most profound thoughts people have is when they are in the shower? I'm just saying, we need to take back control of our minds. We cannot act if we cannot think. How often are you on your phone and walk into a room and think, what am I doing here? In that situation, you were in autopilot because your phone was actively blocking your thoughts. Except most people spend the minute they wake up to the second they fall asleep in this autopilot mode. They can't even begin to think of a better life for themselves. So we must force ourselves to reconnect with our thoughts, as corny as it sounds. So at the end of the day, is the next generation heading towards danger? Yes, most definitely. But that doesn't mean you or me have to be a part of that. Take back control your life, starting with your beliefs and your thoughts, and watch your world change. See you in the next one.